watching a television show about Frank Drake's equation about life in the galaxy. So they're talking about, in his equation, he theorized that intelligent civilizations that want to make contact would use radio. And what if they don't want to use radio? What if they can come here? Then they would just show up. Another problem in these equations was assuming that radio was used at all. The silence may be that
so Drake is right, and there are extraterrestrial intelligences elsewhere in the galaxy. They would all have to overcome those three great filters: biogenesis, the development of multicellular life, and the link to intelligence. And that could be almost impossible.
they cited the Fermi equation, suggesting that the simple answer for all the silence out there is that we are alone. There's nothing out there. But it could be that it's a very comfortable thing for people to believe in. Another simple explanation would be that people don't want to think that there's something out there. That the silence means simply they don't use radio. This assumption they're going to keep using radio. If they're advanced enough to come here, there wouldn't be a need for radio.
To begin to answer this, we first need to know whether the kinds of places where life can start are common, as Drake's equation would suggest, or rare. In other words, is Earth a one-off? To find out, I went hunting for planets around distant stars, known as exoplanets, at the University of London's Mill Hill Telescope. So one way of detecting exoplanets is what's known as the transit method. It's really a beautifully simple idea to understand. So if you imagine that this is your star, and you're wondering, well, what's going around my star? I can't see, it's all too small. Well, as your exoplanet passes in front of your star...
I mean, the Drake's equation is famous for making one very nice, but I think incorrect assumption, is that if civilizations out there want to make contact, they're just going to use radio. But that is in fact taking a rather unusually incorrect assumption. It falls short of the fact that civilization may not need to use radio anymore. They've developed the means to get here. So it would be ridiculous to send a radio signal through space that would take hundreds of years to get here, when they have found a way to come across great distances.
So Drake's estimate for Earth-like planets is credible. And yet being suitable for life is only the starting point. Because life still has to actually begin.
And if you can overcome those great distances through technology, you just simply come here and visit. It's that simple. They would show up. Another simple explanation why that is the most accepted idea, that they
producing artificial RNA, which is thought to be the forerunner to DNA. All right, so let's replicate some RNA. In fact, let's head
program ended with Frank Drake pointing out the fact that 50 years of search for extraterrestrial intelligent signals in the galaxy can't be seen as a failure, and I agree with him, because he said that many of his colleagues and even himself have asserted many times that they've scanned everything in the heavens and found nothing, and that was wrong. Even Frank Drake himself just pointed out that they have only scanned a very small percentage of the data that they have received from the galaxy. The radio signals that are coming in are billions, but you have to sift through those billions to get one signal. But again, it's down to the last part of the equation, L, longevity. How long has an alien civilization been around? And if they've been around a long time, then they're considerably more advanced, and they're not going to be using radio as a means of communication anymore. This is my long-standing point I've made from video 1, back in 2012, when I first began to break across YouTube and I began to tell everybody, and in Facebook, UFO groups, and blogs and elsewhere. It took off and had hundreds and hundreds of hits. Is this assertion, this claim that I've met one of them face to face and even hugged her. She hugged me. It's a claim that raises eyebrows. It swaggers out and wipes out my reputation as a rescuer, public rescuer. And I had the memories resurface, and I thought, I really don't want to say this. I was an officer in a search and rescue team. I have credentials. I worked very hard for what I had. Although it's a long time ago, it's a career. Careers aren't always something that you get paid to do. And I thought, there's no way I'm going to put this out there. I was saying this in private groups to people who are adept to hearing this and want to hear this. And I thought, I know about this video that I'm making here is giving recognition to Seti, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, the scientists, Dr. Jill Tarter, Frank Drake, and many others. It's their tireless dedication to going out there and listening to signals from deep space and getting nothing back is not a failure in science. There is no such thing as win or lose. There is simply a sum of data, and an absence of that data, of a radio signal, is only pointing the scientists in other ideas of thinking. Okay, now then you have to conclude it is quite possible, given the research on Earth, that many scientists are now understanding in the 21st century that in fact life could have evolved elsewhere in the galaxy, and it could be very common. And intelligent life could also be very common. There was an experimental psychologist on here that was studying crow behavior and octopuses. And if you can say that intelligent life on Earth has happened more than once on this planet, not just the human race, the Homo sapiens, as all scientists would agree, then it can occur many times in the galaxy if it's out there. Okay, I am bringing you videos that carte blanche come right out and bluntly say that I have made XYZ contact with something out here in this countryside. I can't say to you scientifically they're alien, aside from the esoteric, spiritual, or acclaimed, all this talk of spiritual dogma and telling. That doesn't make any sense to the viewer. What does that mean? What are you trying to say to us? I think if you break it down in science, we're talking about telepathy. And if you follow the research on telepathy, then you say, yes, a civilization could evolve to a telepathic species and not use radio anymore. In other words, they could be right here flying around those great big Arecibo dishes and receivers and give off no radio signal whatsoever. It's a bit of a mind blower to think, that, again, back to Drake's equation that suggested that an alien race, how many out there want to make contact and communicate, and he puts R in the equation, indicating radio. It's a very curious point. It just gets overlooked every single time he does this. Assume for a minute that the L in his equation, which means longevity, is a quite long-lived civilization. You know, L asks the question, how long have they been around? If you say L equals a long, long time, millions of years on their planet, then they've overcome the obstacles of physics, of crossing great distances that yet this civilization is yet to accomplish. So in that respect, L then goes back and destroys R, radio. They're not going to be using radio, and they're not going to be communicating by means of radio. They're simply going to show up. For them, it could be as simple as going, as it would be for you or I, to go from, well, this isn't simple, it costs money, but I'm in England, to go from England back to Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport, where I lived, Texas, Azle, Texas, and arrived there after a 9-hour flight. We've accomplished this. Our technology's brought us to this point. It's only 9 hours. But there was a time in this civilization when it would have, that same distance would have taken 6 months, maybe longer, and it would have been very perilous and extremely dangerous crossing the Atlantic Ocean. Many people would have died along the way. You might not have got there. 9 hours of a comfortable flight, and you're getting off comfortably and safely at another airport. There it is. Now, this very idea of that we can do something like this on huge 60-ton metallic craft we call airplanes would have seemed, well, simply unbelievable to our ancestors, not even but a century ago. That just simply would have been unheard of, unthinkable. So, I mean, yes, if they've been around a long time, no, they won't communicate with radio. Why? That would be illogical. Think like them. They would simply show up. And here they are. But what are they? What are we meeting in the woods out there? What is it that I've been bringing to you? What is this? What is all this? All these videos? What is any of this? What is it saying? Well, only two possibilities come to mind. One, you know, this is a mentally ill person seeking attention. Or two, this man, his family have experienced things most of us haven't experienced. And that's it. Those are the two possibilities. Now, each of those are very important, because if it's the first one, then what does that say? Well, he's a very cognitive-sounding individual. He's intelligent enough to sit here and talk to us and make sense enough to say these things to us out here. If, in fact, it were a mental health case, then that's extraordinary. That's the most convincing psychopath you've probably heard. Second possibility is the only one that seems logical. There is something going on. And it goes back to that point. What we've met, if I say scientifically, now that means the black and white evidence, exclude all claims of telepathic contact. I can't say they're alien on the cold, hard evidence. No. I've got photographs, I've got video, I've got something that is visiting out there that we witnessed, and I have witnessed, ascending and descending in craft that are unrecognizable. You can't even call them craft, because they're bathed in white light. So I don't know what is this landing in the woods? And then it takes off again under controlled flight without making a sound. And it's very large and silent. This then seems to be connected to whatever it was we saw in the woods. And that being, incidentally, had very large black, onyx black eyes. And very calmly, very placidly, very passively stood there in the woods while I shined a very bright torch into its face. And its eyes reflected back a pure, bright orange reflection. An owl? No. A deer? No. We could see this. This was standing there on two legs. This had long arms. This was no more than 20 yards from my son and I. And it was after midnight, so the street lights have gone dead out here, gone quiet. And there again is this pause for thought. On the pure basis of the science on this, what are you looking at, Jason? What is this? Yeah, how do you know it's connected to that white light that has descended in the forest? On the pure basis of the science, it could have been coincidental. I didn't see it get off the white light. Looking at this purely scientifically, then I only have evidence of photos of multiple encounters like this. This could be, yes, I agree, other forms of intelligent life living and evolved from Earth. That would be the Fermi equation paradox being held up. Why are we not hearing any, according to these scientists with their radio dishes, why are we not hearing ET out there? Well, Fermi's very simple explanation, the paradox, was simply they're not out there. But it goes into the realm of psychology, or perhaps people simply want to believe they're not out there. But that doesn't exclude the possibility they're here and they've been here the whole time. On the purest basis of scientific merit, on my experience, I can't honestly say to you that is an alien being, because I haven't got the evidence to bring that to you. I have an account and a testimony, and that's it. I have my son, who's in bed right now. He's 16 years old, he'll be 17 in May, who can tell you, and he doesn't get into this subject the way that myself and my other son do. He does help out with some research, but he's not as avid as the other boy. So he's not prone to this. He's certainly not. He's very athletic. This isn't something that he would go out and make up. You know, dismiss my account, dismiss me, but it's a little bit harder to dismiss him. And it did cause alarm bells with him. He was frightened. And he's a 6'3" boy. My son is quite tall. And for him to turn to me and say, I want to get out of here. I want to leave. And I stood there, well, let's stick around and see what happens. Now, if this was the only incident this ever happened, then it's a little bit difficult to, well, why even go on about this? But this is multiple incidences out here. And we've had lasers fly on top of a tree. I can't explain that. In that same area, we had a swirl of laser light, like a rainbow, and it shot beams off. Now, I know something about science, and that defies the laws of physics. Light doesn't react that way. You can't curve lasers like that unless you have something to reflect it from. There was nothing reflecting it from. It was bent, curved light without an obvious form of diffraction or something to curve it. How are you able to spin light like that, or curve a beam in this way? Laser light, like most light, tends to travel a straight traversable path. It goes from point A to point Z. What I'm describing and what I witnessed, literally as we saw this on another encounter, was very beautiful, and I think it was a gesture of kindness and goodwill. It was a goodwill. It was to say, you're safe, welcome. We went around that part of the forest while it was on top of this very large oak tree, and we tried to see where the source was emanating from. Was this a disco light from a party? But then, as I remember, let's go back to how it started. I saw this rainbow mass descend from the sky and sit on top of an oak tree, kind of just above it, hovering there. And it was a beam. It was laser light beam, but it was circular. There was nothing in the middle, and it was very beautiful. And then at times it had a beam that came off here, a beam that came off here, and beams that went up there. And it was beautiful, even though it seemed to defy the conventional laws of what we know about light and physics in that regard. It shouldn't have been doing what it was behaving that way. It really shouldn't have been. And so I stood there looking at this, and I thought, this is a handshake from another civilization to us. Why us? Well, simply, why not? Let's use that continuously simple thinking and that simple paradox of Fermi's. Let's just keep going with the simple answer to this, right down the middle. Why not? Why not one of our our eminent scientists out there and politicians or somebody. Why you? Why you? And the answer to that again, simply, well, why not me? If we went out there to the woods looking for them, or at least hoping that we would have some, you always get your expectation up. And there have been many times we went to other woods and nothing happened. I mean, we'd been to many different woods and had expectations high or low, and nothing happened. This one particular area is a puzzle. This area particularly. Why that area? Well, probably just because we're there. And, okay, so they went there too. And now we keep going there, and okay, you go there, we'll go there too. There may not be any specific special reason for this. And in this video, I'm excluding all other talk of esoteric or spiritual or telepathic, claims of anything like that. I'm not going to put names in here. I'm not going to, draw. Well, this is that race, and I'm not going to sound so as a matter of fact in this video. I'm going to sound speaking to you, the general public, on more common ground, more common language, a much more common understanding here. And I know a lot of people who, standing in my place, in my son's place, would have run like hell. They're in a dead panic, even though there was no perceivable danger confronting them. The being we saw did match the description often described by people called abductees, who claim to have been taken by these aliens, or these greys, they call them. 4 foot something, 4'7", 4'6" in height, thin. I couldn't see fingers. It was dark. But I'm using an ultra high powered LED torch, a flashlight, shining at this figure standing just 20 yards from us. The only way to bring you such an extraordinary claim is to bring it to you without making it sensationalized. So the best way to do it is to use the cold basics, speak to you in the most common, basic level, black and white. I can't say it's an alien. And if you still doubt, that's fine. That's perfectly fine. I don't think the purpose of these videos is to get you to believe that we're being visited. And it's not the purpose of me or my sons to try to convince you of anything. We share what we have. We collect what we've got. And sometimes I would think it's just for our own needs. It's for us. So we know that we can look back on that night and say, that wasn't in my mind. There it is. It's on the photograph. Again, I'm just only sharing that one particular experience and how that played out without adding anything else. 2 guys standing in the woods, outside a field, looking into this entrance of woods, and that's what we saw. Prior to entering that area, we saw a white sphere of some kind. If I were to give size to this, I'd say 30 meters, 40 meters across. And I can't see any mechanical parts to this. It's just a white ball of light. It's very large. And it descended into the woods very quietly. At a distance, not directly in front of us. So it's much further into the woods this thing comes down. And we have this, presumably it's connected, again just using basic science here, basic common sense, just black and white. Presumably the little fellow that comes up to us at the entrance of the woods emerges from the woods, from somewhere in the woods, presuming from that sphere, okay? And leaving out whatever I think I felt or connected with, this video, we're just going to leave that right out for now. On the basis of it, all these videos, like since 2012, have been going back to Frank Drake's equation about what are the possible number of advanced, technologically, intelligent civilizations in this galaxy living right now at this time? And it's a very, very, very limited estimate, very limited, and the number is 50,000. Could we be standing there? One has to ask oneself, if you're a bystander to this, was Jason and his son Tanner standing there, staring at one of those 50,000 civilizations that has come down to say, how you doing? And if so, what does that mean? Is contact really that difficult? Is it really that difficult? Well, they've done their homework. Assuming this was an alien, then yes, they've certainly done their math and their homework and earned the knowledge for themselves, responsibly and with maturity, taking the bold step across the gulf of the empty, cold blackness of galactic space to arrive, of all places, to this planet in mass numbers to do whatever it is they're doing. I don't perceive any threat or danger to my son and myself at that time, and I still don't. That's why we still go out there. This isn't any kind of an invasion of any kind. And without trying to explain what we think it might be that's going on in our own words and what we think they're doing here and what I think I was told, based on pure science observation at this point, and then meet us in the woods like that is a privilege. And we were lucky. But sharing that with the general public comes at a cost. It comes at a cost. I took off to say these things to everybody. And I soon discovered that this was going to be the end of one career and the beginning of another. And that's the problem with this subject. It's more comfortable for the masses to believe that I'm making this up, that I'm mentally ill. It's more comfortable for the masses to believe that we're alone. It's more comfortable to believe in the safety and the security. There's probably a huge apprehension when these shows come on TV, where you get many people who tune into these science shows. The Seti researchers are going to talk about their program. There's probably a massive silent anxiety attack that comes over the public, the general public. And all these people are watching and listening, hoping to hear no signal was received. And every time the show ends with, we haven't got one yet, I think people sit back and go, thank God for that. I, however, my sons and myself, very, 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 very handful, very select, very few people that will go out in the night against the unknown, unarmed and unaware of what we're walking into. Just walk into this carte blanche with our hand of gesture of friendship. And on more than a few occasions, and at least for myself and my sons as far as we're concerned, that hand extended back to us in equal kindness. I didn't go to the moon in my life. I wasn't a shuttle astronaut. I didn't become a doctor. I wasn't any kind of a politician. I didn't have a pop star career. I didn't dive to the bottom of the ocean or climb the highest mountaintop. But I know that for my experiences that I've had personally, they count as one of the most treasured experiences of my life, and I'm very, very privileged to have had them. Very privileged. And I'm glad that I was able to have those experiences with my sons there. I hope the men they grow up and become will hopefully emulate the work I did and go on and continue to do this work. Because I think it's a slow process. I think Carl Sagan was right in his book, Contact, when the alien told the scientist named Ellie, Ellie said, well, everyone needs to know this right now, and he told her. Small steps. Everyone will in time, but it's not done that way. So it's a very personal experience. I can only give you pictures of this. I can only give you an account. Whether or not your decision goes either way with what you think it is, I can only say to you, from my personal experience, I know from at least my feeling and my personal experience and what I know in my own experience, my personal experiences, which are not something I can quantify and show you right here, send you a copy of that. But my personal experiences, we've made contact with an extraterrestrial civilization, and they've made contact back to us equally. That's a very nice and a very sweet and comforting thought. And like I said, I'm very privileged. But that's not yours, that's mine. And I can only share it with you secondhand. And I don't know what's more important at this point. Because you get these people that actually get physical evidence, video, which we're still working on the night vision. We're getting that evidence. You know, we're going to go out there and video this. That's a question of money. Right now we've got night vision camera. We're working up to, which just takes a still, a photo. We're working up towards a night vision video system, which again, that's just a financial situation. We have to build up to that. But even if I brought that to you, and people have brought this to the public, it doesn't make any difference. Because there's still people who say, yeah, but you can always fake that with today's technology. So I don't think that's important anymore. I think what's really important is when competent, sound-minded, cognitive people come forward and have sacrificed their reputation publicly and privately even, and sit there and say to you, you know, this is real, we're not alone. And this is how I felt about it, and this is what's going on, and this is what happened. I think that's far more important for you. The nightlight in the room at night that is burning warm and bright. It doesn't illuminate the whole room, not yet. But night lights don't have to. They just need to keep that corner of the darkness of the unknown lit just enough for all of you sitting in the dark to find at least some comfort.